Hello, and welcome to Indiecent, Episode 3.
We did
It's
it.
the only gaming podcast on the internet where three people with our exact usernames will be discussing the specific games
We made
that
it.
we have chosen to discuss.
Take that, America.
Brexit joke.
Yep.
Dead.
I am Elmo3000. I mainly do Twitter, and sometimes think about writing things, but not really. And I am joined by Lamar the Frog
Hello.
and Darkseed.
Buy my album.
I'm pretty sure I just said Darkseed. That's not right. That's a PC game.
And Darkseed 2 is the sequel to that PC game.
Ah.
Darkseed pisses me off a little because it has the one puzzle where it's like, put the scotch into the car and then it'll drive. And it's like, that'll just destroy the gas tank. Why would
It's
you
also
do
a
that?
waste of scotch.
I think the people who make video games know more about science.
That's a good point.
See that
And
now?
yeah, I'm dark. I'm very tired. I had to take a final today and wrote part of a paper, and I've been like doing this shit for like 2 days now, so I'm just about done.
I'm just out of it. Working and video, but I'm just... People are tired, which is the best time to talk about video games. What is the
Our
video game
topic-
for today?
This week it is the Westport Independent.
Tell us about.
Just
Mhm.
before we begin, does anyone have any updates on the week about anything they want to plug, such as articles they have written or albums they have released?
If you go onto my if you go onto my Twitter at www.twitter.com/LamarTheFrog, there's a link to my Bandcamp, which has my album, which you can listen to. There's physical copies coming soon, hopefully, unless I got ripped off, which I don't think I did. Cassettes coming out with download codes. Buy it. Do it. Give me your money. Anyway.
About the only thing I had time for this week was an article on the Danganronpa 3 anime, but that's going to be on Hardcore Gaming 101, so it's going to be like a month to 6 months until it's actually posted.
You gotta start the hype early.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
I didn't even make or write anything. I just want to say that I watched The Nice Guys, a Shane Black movie, and I thought it was quite good.
Nice.
That's about it.
This is a place for video games, you nerd.
It's a it's a movie based on the game, The Nice Guys,
Oh,
which
shit.
was made by Shane Black.
Was it directed by
God.
Uwe Boll?
Yes, that's how you know it's good.
There we go.
Gotta check for that Bowl stamp of quality.
It's the
To be
truth.
fair, Rampage was good, but also a very loose adaptation.
Oh, Uwe Boll. I wish I had more to say. Anyways, Elmo, tell us about the Westport Independent.
The Westport Independent is a censorship simulator
Uh-oh.
where you run a newspaper, you're in charge of a small team of editors, and you have to decide what kind of articles will be published and how you want to slant those articles. It was made by a studio I'd never heard of, named 0010.
Nice.
They haven't really made anything else. But it was published by Coffee Stain Studios, who I had also never really heard of. But apparently,
I actually looked that
Yeah.
up. They're the people they've worked on Goat Simulator.
yeah.
Ah, okay.
I just have scribbled down here, Sanctum plus goats.
You did it.
They've released Sanctum, and they've published Goat Simulator.
There you go.
Yep. I don't have much information about 0010, but I was able to find a little production website which gave the little intro. We are two guys living in... I'm gonna mangle this pronunciation. It's spelt Skovdi,
Okay.
but I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia told me it was pronounced Hevda, so who knows. They live in Sweden. We're two guys living in Sweden. To survive the harsh winter and continuous attacks from nuclear alien polar bears, we started developing indie games.
I'm sorry for that. the polar bear's not the indie games. Video games are cool.
They have a Twitter page, which they haven't really updated it since April, which is probably for the best, because if they were still there, I would just be tweeting at them all the time saying, how do you get the Northern District to rebel? Hi, I like your game. Could you please give me hints on how to get the Northern District to rebel?
Is there a walkthrough? I've been having some
Yeah.
real trouble with this.
Oh yeah, I did write down the names of one of those guys. Pontus Luden, I think it's pronounced. He's credited as the main designer, one of the writers, and the composer.
Nice.
And the graphics. I have a I don't want to immediately make a negative comparison to Pontus London because I spoiler alert, I liked the game.
Mm.
But have you guys ever seen The Room?
The movie?
Yeah.
You're tearing me apart, Lisa?
Yep.
Yes, I am intimately aware.
Oh, because every time you watch the beginning of that movie, and I mean no disrespect, Mr. London, but every time you watch it, it kind of comes up at the beginning with written by Tommy Wiseau, directed by Tommy Wiseau,
where there's the same
starring
person's name.
Tommy Wiseau, producer Tommy Wiseau, and it's just watching the credits for this game is like, oh, the Pontus London did the design,
I think he
and
did
the
a lot.
writing, and the graphics, and the sound.
I can't laugh too much because if I made a
And the
game, I would
music.
absolutely do the exact same thing.
Oh man.
Yeah, I would too.
I would totally put my name that many times, so...
Yeah. I'd try to add some kind of comedic parody element, but then I'd hope that it would mainly just be an excuse to mention my name
Whoa,
7 times in a
that's
row.
pretty meta.
Yeah. Okay, the first thing to mention about the Westport Independent is you kind of have to mention Papers, Please.
Yeah. Let's just get that
If
out of
you-
the way now.
Yeah. If you look on
Oh,
the Steam
God.
community forum, it is mostly, why did you rip off the style of Papers, Please? Why is this so similar to Papers, Please? And there's also one thread by me saying, hi, like the game. How do you get the Northern District of that? It's like, you can actually go there, but it is right there.
We'll get into that in a little bit,
Yeah.
but
Oh, God.
comparisons to Papers, Please are going to be
Yeah.
kind of hard to ignore. It's a similar kind of desktop style game where you're working with pixelated graphics, trying to sort of like parse out information,
Yeah.
and like it's the quote unquote, you can't see me doing triple air quotes for added irony, paperwork sim style
Both kind
of
of
game during a
dystopian.
social revolution in a country and everything. So
Yeah.
I
comparisons
found
are
it kind of different, honestly.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think the comparison is definitely there. Where I don't want to draw clear. I don't want to.
No, I mean,
I
like,
don't want to call
the
it causation or whatever. But I feel like it was definitely influenced in some way, or at least had like, hey, let's try our own spin on this. I can't prove that, of course, but
Yeah, I think that's what happened, but the gameplay they actually came up with is radically different. Because
Yep.
for one, it doesn't give me a heart attack. I want to get into Papers, Please, because I've heard all these great things about it, but I tried playing a few parts of it one day, and I could not get into it. It was too fast-paced for me.
I go hard. I love Papers, Please.
I love it, but I played it on easy. Because
I kind of like
was
this
there easy?
because you can actually just take your time and think, and it really lets the impact of the choices you're making really sink in during that time. While Papers, Please is just like, come on, you want to buy Beats for your fake family, don't you?
Come on, you got to do it. Feed them.
you don't want your fake family to die. What kind of
I don't
sick
know who those
monster
people
are you?
are. I don't care.
Lucas Pope, who developed Papers, Please, he is mentioned in the special thanks at the end
okay.
of this game. So it is
Yeah.
definitely...
All right, then. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
There was some influence there. I definitely do think where when I first saw the Steam page for it, and also we mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but this has extremely mixed reviews on Steam.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's because it looks like Papers, Please, and the Steam
Yeah.
community is fucking garbage, right?
People
Yeah.
kind of like jumped to the conclusion where they're like, "This is a ripoff of Papers, Please" immediately. And I mean, I can see the comparison, but I would not by any means call it a ripoff. Like I said, I feel like it was influenced by, and we now have confirmation there. And tries to do its own thing with a similar format. It reminds me sort of like, in the 90s when everything was a Doom clone, or in the 2000s when everything was a GTA clone. There comes a point where it's like, eventually we'll have a word for this thing, maybe.
Just do not get me started on ranting about Steam reviews. Oh, I will be here forever.
I mean, you can do that with any group congregate review. sort of
No, I
thing.
mean especially for Steam right now because that community is an absolute shit show.
My favorite is when something has...
hearing YouTube shit show.
My favorite is when something has like 0.1 hours on it. It's like, this game is terrible and the worst thing ever. I refunded it, lol. It's like, yeah, that really helped. Thanks.
one of the reviews that's like, it's really funny the first time you see it, but then not when it shows up on every other game that you buy. I think I saw a review for like Bad Rats: The Rat's Revenge,
Yep.
and it was like, it said something like, time spent on this game 25,000 hours.
Oh, I've seen
and then,
that.
And then the review, it's okay.
One of my
Just-
one thing that made me a little upset. This is a side tangent, but it was one post my friend showed me where I like to play Warframe a bunch. If out of free-to-play games, it's kind of my go-to. I think it has really good mechanics and doesn't tether you too much to fork over money to it, to the point where I've like paid for it just because I wanted to, not because I felt like I had to, because I'd gotten so much time out of it. But it was a post where someone has a screenshot of their Warframe hours played, and it says 400 something hours played, and the text just says, "Why is this game so boring?" I don't
That's
even
a
know.
good question.
Meanwhile, I have nearly 200 hours in on Game Dev Tycoon, and the only review I left, I think, was something like, "Save yourself, don't buy this." I wish I was joking.
I've been playing Tap Tycoon right now, which I know is a very different game, but yikes.
I've been playing
Mindlessly clicking.
Politicats, which is apparently the exact same game except with cats.
Mindlessly clicking on things is great. Anyway, on the Westport Independent.
Yeah. I would like to get something straight about the whole Westport Independent Papers, Please thing.
Mhm.
I can confirm 100% that the Westport Independent is absolutely... It might take inspiration, but it's 100% not a rip-off of Papers, Please.
I agree.
And I can say that with absolute certainty, because it's a rip-off of a different Lucas Pope game named The
Oh.
Republia Times.
Oh?
It's a completely free Flash game. It only takes about 20 minutes, so anyone can play it anytime. Yeah, it's just named... It takes place in the same universe as Papers, Please. It was kind of a... I don't want to say prequel,
Glory
because
to
he
our
made it
Kotska.
before. But yeah, stop me if this sounds a bit familiar, but The Republia Times is a game where you're an editor at a newspaper,
Okay.
and you have to decide which news stories you're going to run, and whether they're pro or anti-government, and like
Alright.
live with the consequences.
Yep.
So it's a little bit similar to
So
the
there's
Westport Independent.
so there's a bit of a more
But-
clear influence there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing
It
inherently
is-
wrong with that. I mean,
Well, it's
I-
only like a 20-minute Flash game. I understand
Yeah.
wanting to expand on it if the guy who made it isn't going to do it.
Yeah, it's, even though I would say I wouldn't call it a rip-off of the Republia Times.
That's good.
Even though I already said that, like, literally word for word a minute ago.
that was hyperbole.
Yeah.
You can't hold that
It's-
against us in a court of law.
I was... Jeez, don't you guys know sarcasm?
Jeez, come on. I'm sorry.
It's just satire.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry you were offended. No,
I'm
Ricky
Ricky
Gervais
now.
slams in through the door. Are you offended? Are you offended?
anyway, I'm sorry. Elmo, continue.
Please stop sending him over here, Elmo. It's getting annoying.
I'm trying. I just keep sending, he keeps finding a way back. I keep sending him again. You can criticize the guy all you like, but he's a really strong swimmer.
I think he's learned how to teleport. Anyways, the Westport Independent.
Yeah, so it's let's see. I have some notes that I'm just like, okay, Westport Independent, mention rip-off of Republia Times, then in brackets, not really a rip-off, be nice.
And expanding on the Republic of Times.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah,
more
if
so.
it for a 20-minute Flash game, I don't care if you rip it off word for word. If you're expanding it into a full game, then it's going to be different.
Mhm.
Even if it was a rip-off of Papers, Please. Papers, Please is one of those... That would honestly sell me on a game. If someone said, this is a rip-off of Papers, Please, I'd say, how the hell would you do that? And then buy it.
I mean, wasn't that the inspiration for us doing this?
Yeah, pretty much.
There we go.
Oh, that's the last link to Papers, Please, is, guess how I found out about the Westport Independent?
Through papers, please.
Sort of. I don't know why I said sort of. It's directly yes, 100% yes.
There we go.
If you go on Wikipedia and type in Papers, Please, I was looking through the Wikipedia page for the game, and it just says at the bottom, see also, the Westport Independent.
Nice.
Even
But-
though there's no real link, it just says, yeah, see also. It's the same thing.
It's there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
since we've kind of gotten the Papers, Please comparison out of the way, and as to the circumstances that well, one, this is not a ripoff of that game, despite
Yeah.
some similar visual cues and some similar kind of formatting. But let us discuss the video game.
Yes.
I like it.
I'm mostly pretty okay with it.
I'm mostly, yeah. I think the opening is pretty, I don't know what word, symbolic or thematic. The opening is, it sets the scene well.
Yep.
Because the opening, it's like this, if you don't skip it, which I did because I played the game like 9 times, then it's this kind of 3-minute little kind of old worry projector video set up like one of those old propaganda shoots where it's like, so the public culture bill is coming into force in 12 weeks. The government will merge with media outlets and something, I don't know.
Yep.
It's a tutorial.
And
It's
things will need to be
AKA
kept proper and
Nazis.
respectful.
try not to
AKA gulag, gulag, gulag.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Don't make the government look
Yeah.
bad, or bad things might happen. Ha
Yeah.
ha ha.
Oh, they're gonna happen anyways. You weren't supposed to say that out loud.
Oh shit, not again. Damn it. Can we get another take?
I think it's very, very appropriate. We're recording this on the night that Donald Trump has destroyed the entire GOP.
Oh my god, it's a
Yeah.
clusterfuck. Let's not even get into that, but it is a clusterfuck, and it's scary and hilarious and terrible
Yeah.
all at the same
I
time.
think that's a good way to describe this game too.
I think it's a good way to describe Donald Trump.
There you go.
There we go.
But basically, the way the Westport Independent is broken up is you run a newspaper, you are the editor of it, and have different writers, but you can give articles to. Each week, you have a series of articles that are like on the left of the screen, and you can pull out the articles you want, choose what you want to rewrite or erase. And when I say rewrite, it's usually between 2 options for like a headline, and erase, you click on a couple lines of text, and it'll just like draw a line through them. So you determine what you do and don't want to be said on there, give it to one of your writers, and then pass it off.
You can also change the headline by clicking on it, which changes the tone of the article for those who read it.
Yep. And also,
And
an
the
important
headlines
thing.
are always either the government is awesome and I want to suck their penises, or the government fucking sucks and I want to stab their penises.
Yep. Or occasionally, it's just like for if lighter articles, like celebrity ones, it'll be like, celebrity is in car. It's like celebrity in hospital for car crash, or celebrity dying from car crash. Whoa! And it's like, yeah. You determine what is there and pass it off to a writer. Also, it's important to note that the writers have their own sort of political bent towards everything, and have certain articles that they are or not comfortable, or are not. Thanks, words. Comfortable writing.
Right, the first one and the best one is Frank, who is staunchly rebel all the way. I love him.
Fight the
I
power.
want him to marry me.
Fight the power.
The worst one is Phil,
Phil is
who
terrible.
is all the way loyalist, and I hate him, and I'm glad I got an ending where he dies. And the other 2 are Annie and Julie, the 2 women in the office who are more moderate in their views, but they lean one way or the other.
Julie and Anne are basically...
I should also mention that you can affect how they view the government based on the stories you print. Like, on my playthrough, I eventually got Phil sorted to see the side of the rebels. He ultimately still sided loyalists, but he got really close there.
People can change.
Unfortunately, he still got killed by a mob sent by an evil company, so whoops.
Yikes.
Oopsie daisy.
Yeah, don't print bad stories about the job creators.
But
Or if you do, give them to Phil. Just be
God
like,
damn it.
you
And
love
for-
the government so much?
But for what we were talking about with getting the North to convert to the rebels, is you also get
Oh,
to
God.
format your paper, which is not as boring or terrible as it sounds. You basically decide what's on each of the 4 pages of it out of the articles you pick, and then who you're going to market it to.
Right, and depending on how you order it depends on the appeal your paper will have, especially on the front page, and that will and every one of the 4 sectors of this country or city, whatever, has a different interest. So you want to try and make, a newspaper that appeals to the interests of the sector you want to affect most.
Yep. And
There's
they
4
have
different
different
areas,
priorities
yeah.
based on. I'm probably going to get this wrong, even though I played this like 2 days ago. Based on celebrity, industry,
industrial,
social
crime.
issues, and then crime. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool, we did it.
Yeah.
And the 4 sectors are basically the slums, the workers area, the
Middle class.
it's not the suburbs, like
Yeah.
the business area,
The,
and
the industry
and the
sector.
rich people place, which sucks.
Yeah, getting the north to convert is like impossible.
Oh,
Well,
I
if
got
you
them
try to
in
get
the
them to
middle.
convert.
But
I
close
couldn't
enough.
do it because I couldn't figure out how to balance everything without sacrificing a rider, which I wasn't gonna do.
Let us open the floor.
I had a note for all of the districts where I was trying to, because I live in Britain, yay, I was trying to make a little note of which kind of, given that it's a game about newspapers, I was going to see which British newspaper would kind of match up with which district.
Oh God.
But that did not work well because I just thought, okay, so the slums, they're the people where if you say one good thing about the government or one bad thing about the government, that shapes everything for them. They change their opinion really easily. They're kind of gullible. And I thought, what newspaper would go along with that? And I came up with every British newspaper that exists. and then I was like, what would be the next step up? And I thought, oh wait, there's none really left after you get rid of every newspaper.
Oh God.
I want to say the Daily Record, but only because they gave me £100. So
There we go.
not related to this, but you know how some newspapers have those comment sections.
Oh boy.
We want to hear your opinions. When I was slightly younger, I used to write in, and every once in a while, if you get comment of the day, that just gives you £20. So,
Nice.
so they were seeing me through college
There you go.
over
But,
the course of 3 years.
For the Westport Independent, it's also worth pointing out that since the totalitarian government is putting different restrictions and everything for the public culture bill, which is coming at the end of the game, that's ostensibly when the game ends, and you sort of see how everything played out. They are keeping track of your paper as well, so based on your actions, they can become more or less suspicious of you as time goes on, based on what kind of articles you're printing and where you're marketing it and everything. And when you choose where to market, it's usually just like on a little slider. It's like which percentage do you want to put towards which district, etc. So it's pretty streamlined in that way.
And it's important to note that even if you market 100% to the north, they still don't rebel, the bastards.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I did play through the game quite a few times.
I did about I did like
Yeah.
2.5 playthroughs of it.
Fox News
I only
Simulator.
did one, and I felt satisfied with it.
Yeah, you got the ending where Phil dies. That's good enough. You got the
I
true
kno-
ending, you know?
Yeah, for me, I kind of wanted to. The reason I did multiple was because I wanted to sort of stress the boundaries of the system to see how much it plays out and, like, I guess see how everything is connected. Because, you know, as much as you could levy a complaint or something at, like, oh, I wish there were more articles or more ways to edit these things, which for some things I kind of do. In terms of like different bits of information, but when you consider the web of how things branch out, that would mean having to change a lot of things and a lot of different variables. So I'm kind of
Yeah, I kind of like
way,
it's this simple.
But a lot
I
of
kind of
the
like
time
it's this simple because they make a very simple puzzle for you to figure out, but the solution is ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess my big issue with the game, where I said mostly pretty cool with it, is I feel like a lot of the time it can be a little too simplistic in the way it goes about it, where you basically either go full rebels or full government, and
Loyalist, yeah.
yeah, either full rebels or full loyalist, and it's, while that's not necessarily a bad thing with the goals they set for the game, it just kind of bothered me a little bit that we have one of these two extremes that you can really go for.
Thing is, if you play moderately like I did, you're constantly trying to make it seem like you're siding with the government, but you're actually not.
That's
just
true.
like
I think that's
just
probably the
balance,
best way to do it.
just make sure they don't suspect you too much until later on. But that's when I noticed that there's a lot of other factions at play in the game other than the government and the rebels.
Yep, like the businesses and the other places.
Yeah, that if you print certain stories, it'll eventually get responses from different parties involved, and and that will affect what happens in the game. And even if you'll have writers for a particular week.
I pissed off a lot of celebrity agents when playing the game.
Oh, I didn't piss them off at all because I avoided the really scandalous headlines, and they just sent me really meaningless corrections.
Yes.
Oh, I did all the scandalous ones and did it multiple times with the most hyperbolic title possible. And cut out all the actual information in it, and they're just like, we find it very disrespectful that you're doing these things, and we might have to see you for slander. I'm like, fucking do it. I dare you.
I didn't do that because I still wanted to be respected by the public, and I figured that might affect my popularities and sales, since I also wanted to make it more than just a tabloid journal. I play games very straight and boring, as you can see.
See, I did, but for my 2 full playthroughs, I did the 2 extremes. So one playthrough was Fox News Simulator 2016, where it was 100% pro-government, fuck the rebels.
Mind you,
all these, like, trying to cut out all these things. Like, how can I make this awful crime sound like a good thing? And go through it, just because I kind of wanted to see how far it would go and everything. And oddly, I mean, that version of the game is extremely easy, which is kind of the way I don't recommend playing it. Because for one, you're doing all these terrible things, and for two, it's very straightforward.
And you caused the Holocaust.
It's pretty terrible.
Great going there, buddy.
Yep. But then you also have to be careful, because if you go full revolutionary, full like, everyone needs to stop the government, they're rallying against all the people, and this is all horrible, and they're shutting the borders and everything. If you do that, then you can get killed in like 8 turns.
Yeah, which is why you gotta play moderately, and I think that's where I was really impressed with how the systems work, because what it's all about dressing up the story to give a certain set of information, but to send out enough signals to the people so they can form their own opinion, and you don't attract too much attention from the government. It's why I did a lot of stories about the businesses, because that wasn't directly tied to the government. So I figured I could just talk about that a bit safer than some of the other stuff, and it still helped build towards a revolution in the 2 lower districts.
If there's one thing that I definitely think that this game does very well, it's by making you do it, of course. It makes you consider how information is presented, because the basic ways to censor things are either censor or edit things. There's a headline, there's the normal version or the hyperbolic version. You pick one of those. I probably recommend picking the normal version most of the time. And then you can choose which lines to erase. So you can use that to either make the rebels look bad or make the government look bad, etc. And it really keys you in when you have the full article right in front of you, what you're doing and what is being cut out and what message you are messaging to people.
I also kind of love the alternate messages when you're dealing with the government issues, because when it's the president topic, it's like it's always some sort of backhanded compliment.
Yep.
I did like how, like, a lot of the headlines, it was just, oh, this is a bit pro-government, this is a bit anti-government, but sometimes the kind of dramatic and funny ones were great. My favourite's probably when the president announces that he's going to postpone the elections, and because there's some riots going on and he wants to wait until after they've been sorted out. And you can either go with anarchy postpones elections, or you can go with government loyalists cancel democracy.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue I have when it gets to be a little too simplistic sometimes. It might just be the headlines for me, actually, because most of the articles are just the straightforward information, how you choose to present it. But with the headlines, I feel like maybe having one more option. Once again, I don't know how much this blows out to the rest of the game. I don't know how much work that actually is, and I don't want to come off like I'm making impossible demands. But usually when it's either normal headline and hyperbolic crazy headline for every single one, I'm like, okay, well, I can tailor this to which way I'm going to play, but this feels kind of limited. It feels like I'm putting a box that way.
It's not as limited as you think, because it's only limited when you're dealing with like government stories or the tabloid stories for comedy. Woo! But if you do it for things like crime stories, it becomes a much more interesting mechanic because the a lot of those topics are very neutral initially to the eyes of the government, so you can actually get away with doing hyperbolic headlines on certain stories, and that really catches the attention of your audience. And if you word things just right, it can even build rebellious attitudes, which I thought was pretty clever. Especially in the workers' district, the third one going down, of course. The revolution started there not because of hating the government, but because of the corruption in the businesses there.
Yep, you find out that a lot of the businesses were kind of in the pocket of not so great organizations and running things there. That's kind of what we mentioned with your writers, based on their actions, can either choose to leave if your political choices don't line up with theirs. So when I did Fox News Simulator instead of Revolutionary Simulator, the one writer who is very, very sympathetic towards the rebels and very much wants to enact a social change, as he should when things are terrible, but he ended up leaving the paper during that playthrough and said, I can't continue doing this. I would rather be arrested or killed or everything than sit by and idly let this happen. Which is like, hey, that's a smart mechanic in order to engender, like, hey, you're asshole, your consequences have actions. Maybe you shouldn't be, yeah.
For me, Frank did leave on the last day, but that's because he went to go help out in the strikes.
Yep. For me, it was like, for that playthrough, rather. I should always be emphasizing this because that gets confusing. But for the awful playthrough, he left midway through the game, not like super early, but in like the last third leading up, just saying like, I'm going to join the rebels. I can't sit by and let you keep doing this and keep pushing things in this direction and act like everything's okay when it isn't. And I think that's a really good way of doing it, because it's like, hey, your writers are actually people.
You should have done the moderate playthrough, because that way the conversations between the characters have a lot of weight to them.
Yep, that was that was the one that I kind of got partway through but didn't fully finish. But that was definitely the most interesting one. I think that's the way the game is probably, I don't want to say intended to be played, but it's probably the best way to play it.
I think that's the line that humanizes Phil a little, so you kind of understand where he's coming from. Like, he has a brother to take care of who's very sick, so he's not a very political person. So the reason why I think you can change his views so much in the game is because he's just never thought about it this much.
Yep. He's the kind of person who prioritizes the order and stability that comes under the government, but at the same time, he's not someone who's being very negatively impacted by their actions. So if you play your cards right, you can get him to sort of realize, oh shit, there's a lot of people who are really getting fucked over by this awful totalitarian fucking freedom-ripping government. I want to make no ambiguity here. We are not exaggerating when we say, like, the government in this game is full-on censor everything, glory to our Totska, our glorious leader, and everything.
And of course, the symbols are basically just south of Nazi symbols.
Mm-hmm.
And in your ending, it ends with the fucking gulag.
But not so much south as it is, I'd say, far right. Oh.
A plus
Would
fun.
you say alt-right?
God damn it. But yeah, I think this game has a lot of strengths. There's little things that kind of nag at me with it, but I think overall, one thing that I thought about while playing this game is a bit of advice that I always think about. This can apply to all projects, but I've specifically seen people mention it for video games. Is often when you're starting out or you're a small team, what you should do is have an idea for a project, and have it be about the smallest possible thing that you would feel comfortable charging money for, and execute on that and do that really, really well. Don't get over-ambitious or anything, work within your means, and I think this game does that very well.
I also was really impressed with the presentation.
Oh, definitely. The sepia tone kind of thing in the pixel art actually works a lot better than I thought it would.
Yeah, and there's a lot of nice little touches, like the cutscenes between the weeks where the writers are just talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
The ending credits are really well done with really vivid pictures showing what happens in each district.
Yep. Well, there's a typewriter kind of saying what happened to all the characters, what happened with all the districts and everything.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, Phil died. Frank's pretty much just on my playthrough. Phil died. Frank helped out the striking workers, and I couldn't figure out which one was Anne and which one was Julie, the two moderate women. But one of them just went about reporting, and like, well, one guy asked her what the hell she was doing in the middle of this hellscape, and she was like, "Well, someone's got to report it." And and the other one was helping out people caught in the crossfire of the rebellion, just like, yeah, the newspapers really fuck shit up. So you can kind of guess which is which.
I think, yeah, the reason why we haven't been mentioning Julie and Anne that much is I would say they're probably quite I don't know if they're underdeveloped or if it's just because Phil and Frank are both the radical on opposite sides of the debate.
I think
Julie
they're all
and Anne
about
are just like,
I think they're all about equally developed, but because Julie and Anne are a little less pronounced in their beliefs, like they're a little more subtle with the way they talk about the issues and everything. They're not like full on.
Yeah, they're much harder to pick out.
Yeah, so they don't really leave as much an impression, which bothered me a little bit because it's like, so we got Frank, we got Phil, and the two girls, I guess.
I do like that they're in
think,
the game. I do like them mechanically, though, because there is one mechanic we haven't mentioned. Your writers can actually not want to print a article you want them to print, so you either have to force it and risk them leaving, or you can rewrite it until it fits something more like they'll want to print. So every week you have to be very careful about how you go about it. Like, the most rebellious stuff you can get to Frank, and you have to like be very careful what you give to Phil because he's so picky. But Anne and Julie can like get the other two stories that you need to fit in there somewhere, and sometimes they're necessary to print the rebellious stories, because if a certain writer prints too many anti-government stories, the government catches on to it.
Yep.
yeah.
And their suspicion level will rise, and that will cause problems. So you want to give them puff pieces from time to time, just to even it out until the end of the game.
Yeah, it's pretty transparent when you have your hands on the game for a little bit. But basically, you have one writer is far left, one writer is left of center, then the other two are far right and a little right of center. So you kind of have to work with that in order to figure stuff out. And also, if someone doesn't like an article that you try to give to them, you can try and pass it on to someone else, or give them, like you said, a fluff piece and everything to sort of even things out. But eventually there's going to come points where they're going to clash. So I think that's a good central tension to have. And what I like is that it's a central tension that you, the player, actually engage in. It's not just a thing that's told to you in like a text crawl or whatever. It's like, no, this is actually based on my actions. This is happening.
And it helps that all four of them are developed as people, so you actually care about them, unlike the imaginary family surviving on beats and Paper Please.
I mean, in Papers, Please, I think the family being gameplay tokens is very much the point of it.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Because
but
the way it abstracts the system there.
Yeah, but I like this sort of game better, where I'm more of a narrative guy. I like having a reason to give a shit, and I like that they put enough effort there to make you really feel like you don't want to screw these people over.
You should play all of Papers, Please, because they actually throw in some interesting moral choices with things you can do. It's not just do the paperwork as fast as possible for it.
Oh no, I got that from what little I played. Like, you can letting in certain people causes certain things to happen. Not all of them good, not all of them bad.
Free Georgie.
Oh god. Oh god, I love Georgie Costover so much.
It's so great. He comes up to the border with like a fake passport that's a sheet of paper with passport written on it, dipped in tea.
He's like got a crayon drawing of himself.
It's so great.
That's the second time he comes in.
I think I met that guy.
It's great.
That's the second time he comes in. The first time he comes in, he doesn't even have a passport. He just says, "Glory to our Totska."
Can I go
You
through
say,
that?
"Where is your passport?" He goes, "Our Totska so great, passport not needed."
It's too good. Then you just go, next.
What happens if you let him in anyways?
The
You
government gets kind of mad at you.
He's out again by the next day, because you have to let him in like 8 times. times.
Yeah.
He just, oh boy, I don't want to go completely off on a Papers, Please tangent, but I just love how one of the later gameplay mechanics is you have to calculate people's weight, and if they're like, say, 5 pounds over their allotted weight, they might have something strapped to their back. And then Georgie comes in, and normally, like I said, somebody's like 3 or 4 pounds over, and he's like 50 pounds over. And you're like, Georgie, can I take an X-ray of you? And he goes, oh, okay, fine. And I don't know where this accent is coming from. I'm really sorry.
We're offending somebody somehow.
Yeah.
We
And
apologize.
he turns around, and you do the X-ray, and instead of just 1 or 2 packages, his entire back and legs, they're just covered in packets, and you just say like, Georgie, what is this? And he just goes, he's drugs. you just go, Georgie, and he goes, I have side business, I sell many drugs. And you're like,
Poor innocent man.
yeah. So you can, no matter how many times you have him taken away or arrested, he's always very friendly, and he just mentions, oh, this will cost me much as lotties to fix.
It's too good.
The best bit is when, after you send him away for drugs, he comes back the next day and he still weighs 50 pounds too much.
Oh
and
my
you
God.
do the scan again, and he's like,
He
it's
tried
still
again.
drugs.
Jesus Christ.
And you're like, why are you doing this,
Why does
Georgie?
this keep happening?
It's just, Georgie, I'm rooting for you, but why? Georgie was... This game would have been better with a Georgie cost over. It
I
would
do
have been
feel like
better
this
with...
game
I
might have-
remember when
despite-
VA11 came out, and a lot of people were passing around a fake image with Georgie in it
Free Georgie.
at the bar.
I do feel like the Westport Independent. Well, no, I was about to say it could maybe have some levity or comic relief, but I think with the goals it's sets out for in the tone, it's not like it's overbearingly depressing when you play
And
through.
there is comedy relief
Yeah,
in all of
definitely.
the articles.
Yeah, exactly. So
Or
I
like
take
when
back
you
what
get
I was
little
about to say
nitpick
there.
letters from like the representatives of celebrities, like, actually he's 105 pounds, not 106.
You're lucky your rag is still being printed. I pissed
No matter
off so
how
many.
much I...
In
matter how
Fox
much I-
News, in Fox News Simulator 2016 playthrough, it was so funny because it would just be all pro-government and just random celebrity news. So it would be like, celebrity has minor injuries in hospital, and I'd be like, celebrity is a miracle man. He can't be shot by bullets.
I kind of want to play it on this way now.
It's like
There are
actually
so
funny.
many different ways to play it. It is
And also
great.
doing that playthrough was interesting because, I mean, it's usually very clear how you rewrite stuff in a certain way, or it's like, which details do I cut, or which headlines do I put to make the government look good and the rebels look bad, and you realize how easy it is to spin doctor these things. This game,
Yeah.
if I had to give this game title that was not the Westport Independent, I would call it Spin Doctoring the Game, and I like that.
Yeah, I've never seen a game tackle journalism in such an interesting way before. Like, it's always usually just a side talk thing, or like in Beyond Good and Evil, where you had take pictures and then the journalism happens somewhere else.
Some guy wrote it, I guess, maybe, who knows.
Yeah, but like this game, like, directly shows you just how important editing is in the process and just how much it can affect how we view the world. I think that's really important in this day and age because in case you haven't noticed, Donald Trump is still running for president.
As of this recording.
Yeah, and you can actually blame the media on him getting this
absolutely.
fucking far.
Oh, absolutely. He used fucking reality sheet. I don't know if he did this intentionally. I don't have much
Oh, he
faith in the
probably
man's intention. I don't have much faith in the man's intelligence, but he used people were like, how's a reality star running for president? It's like, because he ran the media circus and turned it into a shit show and made him the center of everything. And that's really fucked up and scary for so many reasons when you consider his awful, terrible political views.
But then he pissed off an actual journalist, and they basically ruined him.
Yeah.
That's nice.
There we go. But yeah,
There's apparently
Happy
more
ending.
tapes and more tax forms to come.
But the big thing with the Westport Independent is it really takes the keystone of editing and applies it to you, where editing is not just about what is said, it's also about what is cut. and you very much have full access. Well, not full access, but you have access to what is said, how it is said, and how you present this information. I think it's done in a very streamlined way where very quickly, even if like you skip the tutorial and everything, you can figure out very much what you're doing.
Okay, I have 2 side notes real quick. The first side note, this game was originally released on mobile.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which explains why the mechanics are so simple and why there's so many angry, pissy Steam users because they're stupid and dumb.
Yeah.
I love you, Steam.
I feel bad because I actually refunded a game for the first time this week.
What was it?
It was Grow Home.
Really?
It wasn't running well for my computer, so.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yep.
But like, if you play like 50 hours of it and then bitched about it and then got a refund, you're terrible.
I don't know how people manage to pull that off. 400 hours of Warframe. Why is it so boring? Still pisses me off. I don't even know who this person is, but it makes me angry.
Gamers are insane, I swear.
I'm looking at the store page now of the Westport Independent back here, and it's... I think like one of the best and worst things about the game is that there's a lot of stuff that has the potential to affect the story and affect how your colleagues feel and affect how future stories come up. Like there's one new story about it says there's a policeman who's being, I think, punished because he refused to shoot a protester, and that protester was like a 15-year-old girl. And if you cover that news story negatively and say, oh, this is awful, then the next week you can have a news story that says there are lots of protests going on outside police stations. And if you cover that one and cover it negatively again, next week you'll have a story like a teenager has been killed in a riot outside a police station. And I was quite interested to think, oh wow, this is interesting. These new stories are creating new opportunities, and then it just stopped. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess that was just the end of that train of thought.
Yeah, I think
when I did,
it went on a bit long.
Yeah. When I did multiple playthroughs, I was kind of trying to figure out, because some of the articles are randomized and some of them take place at specific points, but I'm not sure what the progression is necessarily for things such as that.
Especially given how annoyingly hard it is to convert the North. It does make me... it's the kind of game where I think there's a lot of gameplay mechanics where I kind of think, does this have a long-standing meaning? Is there a way to kind of game this? Or...
Good news, guys. I think I know a way to convert the North, and it's related to my second side note.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I just found out on Twitter that Mike Pence is considering leaving his position as vice president nominee. So all we need to do is find a 2005 tape of whoever's in charge of the government saying they want to touch women in their crotches, and we got it in the bag.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Also, Ben, we are dating the recording of this episode really hard.
Oh, like anyone's ever going to forget this day.
Hey, did anyone know that this was recorded on October 8th, 2016?
Yeah. To be fair, the more we focus on this, the less we're focusing on my horrendous whatever accent I gave Georgie Kostova. So, hey, let's talk about Trump. Yeah.
Let's not. For the sake of video games, let's not.
Yeah, let's probably not.
Let's go ahead and wrap. Let me just say the music for this game is really good and atmospheric when it pops up.
Yeah, I think it's a game... It's a kind of soundtrack that, like, you know, I can't really think of any, like, key tracks. I'd just be like, oh man, I need to listen to that right now. But for what you're... it does what I think game music does very well and sets the atmosphere and sets the mood that you're sort of in very, very concretely.
Yeah.
And it suits
And
everything.
with that, I think we're done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Also, the soundtrack was nice. Don't you love that in game reviews where it's just like, have you seen this happen before, where it's like, this game is fucking horrible, everything about it's bad, it doesn't work at all, it's crashing on me, the story's terrible, but the soundtrack was good. So.
That actually happens to me a lot when I'm writing things I find, when I'm writing reviews, because I sort of have a structure in my head where I start with an introduction, move on to a brief summary, then hit all the points, and sound is normally considered the least important thing in my mind, so I just kind of subconsciously save it for the end, or just like skip it entirely.
For me, that's a thing that very much depends on the game. Like, sound design is more or less important given certain things. I'd argue it's important for all games, but there's some where it's of much elevated importance, like a survival horror or something.
Yeah, I think one of the few times when I've written something where I really mentioned the sound design really hard is when I was reviewing the anime Selector Infected Wick Sauce, however you fuck you pronounce
Wick
that.
Cross Sauce.
The card game anime about the suffering teenage girls in Hellscape Nightmares.
Which one?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, the one written by Odaka.
Future Card.
So it's-
Future Card Buddy Fight.
Digimon?
Anyways, that series soundtrack is incredible, and like so incredible that the new series they just made, which looks much worse than the first one, just outright takes that soundtrack again and applies it. It's like a constantly fading in and out madness at points, and just
God.
like the music, it really plays with the volume a lot, and it's like heavy and like degrading techno, and just sounds like it's imagine what it sounds like. What I imagine it would be like to hear someone losing their mind. It's just the most beautiful thing, terrible thing, and I just had to gush about that when I wrote about it.
On video game sound design, the fucking thing that came out recently about Inside.
Oh
The
yeah,
game by
this-
Playdead. The soundtrack was recorded with reverberation from a fucking human skull.
Oh god.
Having watched a playthrough of that game, I believe it. I believe
video games.
it.
Sounds like it could have been made with a veal skull. 2 thumbs up.
You know what would have saved Gears of War 4?
If it had skull.
Yes.
You know what did save Gears of War 4?
What?
Run the Jewels. They're in it.
I don't get. What?
They, Run the Jewels, the rap group, Killer Mike and LP are
no.
playable characters in the multiplayer. It's
Video
fucking amazing.
games. You know what would have saved the new Dead Rising game?
Joe Dirt quotes.
Frank West.
Well, yes, there's no Frank West in the game. That's a big problem.
It's
Oh.
funny because we say there's no Frank West, but there is, but there isn't.
Oh.
Yeah, it's generic white guy is Frank West.
Pretty much. Anyways,
Uh,
wrapping
I
up
only
thoughts
have-
on the
Go ahead and
Westport
wrap up,
yeah.
Independent.
I only have one more little thing in my notes about the Westport Independent, and I think we've already covered it, but I want to mention it anyway, because I've just put a sentence, mention how difficult it is to be a rebel, and then I've put in brackets, God, Mum, I'm getting a tattoo whether you like it or not.
It's not a
Oh, that-
phase.
Yeah. There was one thing about... Okay, I can't say what it's about, because that'd spoil it, but you'll find out in about 30 seconds.
Oh, I've already said Phil
yeah.
dies.
The last thing
I mean,
can...
that depends how you play it.
Yeah.
But
The last thing I can mention in the game, I am kind of an achievement whore, and there's 20 achievements because there's 4 different districts, and you get 1 achievement for each ending you get in each.
man.
Yeah.
Gotta get those
I'll do
fucking trophies. Can't stop.
I'll do anything for trophies. If you're listening, what was your name? If you're listening, 0010, anything.
That's binary right there.
Yeah. I actually
No.
looked that up, and it's not binary.
Damn it!
I thought it was, and I'd think, oh, is this some secret code? No.
My audio just slipped.
Just-
So when that plays, you're gonna hear "damn it" really loud.
Good. Oh. But yeah, and as mentioned, I've gotten every district in the game to get every reaction, except you can't get the North to rebel fully. And I was looking it up, and it's not a big enough game that it has guides and stuff about it. And there's already 3 other people on the Steam forums asking, how do you get the North to rebel? And
All right,
Including
all right,
me.
listeners, all 6 of you.
yeah,
We need to. We need
Tell
to.
us.
We need to start the hashtag. How do you get the North to rebel?
the North remembers.
God damn it! Winter is coming.
The North shall fall again.
Oh no, they just got it back.
All right,
Ah.
final thoughts.
Oh wait, my thing.
Oh, all right, unless you weren't still going.
Sorry. My search for an answer of how to get the North to rebel, it took me to a very dark place, which is a Reddit. A subreddit. It was just like there's a quite small Westport independent subreddit, and I thought I might get some answers there. And it said like there was somebody going, "Hi, played the game, enjoyed it, I like it. One thing that I have to know: how do I get the North to rebel? I just can't do it." And somebody down. There's only like one comment on there, and it just says, "I don't know how to get the North to rebel, but I do know something even more important." And you scroll down, and it just says, "Fuck Phil." Just fuck that guy.
That guy's my new favorite person.
So now what we got to do is go onto that thread, and when it says, "How do you get the North to rebel?" We just comment, "Slam your dick on the keyboard." That's what happens.
My dick is so big if you slammed it on a keyboard.
I swear, if we end up getting a response from the devs on this, they're not going to tell us how to get the North to rebel.
Yeah, just be like, "Have you tried getting good?
Have you tried not sucking at the game?
Have you tried getting the North to rebel?"
If you thought about it, it's actually very easy.
I'm giving up because I've had like 4 runs where I do nothing but focus on the North, and they just don't bite.
Jesus.
Oh, it's really hard. Yeah. I heard one of my friends accidentally they were probably saying it for a joke, but they accidentally said like, "Yeah, my dick is so big, if you slammed it down on a keyboard, it would go all the way from A to Z." And then there's a pause, and then they're like, "Wait, what? Wait.
No. Stop."
Did someone tell him where the A and Z are on the keyboard?
I think he realised just at the end.
My keyboard's in Dvorak, I swear.
Yeah, I have a special keyboard. It's like 5 inches.
It's statistically average.
Yeah. So what?
This has gone places.
So what are your final thoughts, guys, on the Westport Independent?
It was pretty
I'll go
good.
ahead and start us off there.
Yep.
Give me a
Phil.
moment. You winded me.
I'm sorry.
Sink in the atmosphere. We have to divert from what just happened.
I think I'm the one who probably liked this one the best. I really like experimental narrative games like this that aren't like too experimental to the point where you feel like you're not doing anything. Like, the gameplay really made me think about something I normally don't think about, and it made me feel for these characters, and that always just gets high marks for me. I'm just really impressed when you can, even with flawed execution, pull off something like this. Excuse me.
I guess I'll go next.
Yep.
Despite a couple of little gripes I had with it, I think overall I was pleasantly surprised with this game. It does a good job of what it set out to do. It's very streamlined in how it presents its narrative, and I think the biggest thing of all for me is that the way it handles its narrative is with its actual gameplay mechanics and the way you interact with them. It doesn't really... There's not an obvious, like, "Oh, you picked this one path," or whatever. There's a lot of different variations and different ways you can play through it, based on different styles to kind of go through. And when you get things like your writers rejecting you or leaving or getting arrested and all that, that squarely lands on you, the player. And I think that's very important for making a video game.
Yeah.
You gotta make... It's like, what interactions you have definitely count in this game.
Okay, I can't really... I can't mention the game without using the words wasted potential. But
Or the words, "How do you make the North rebel?"
rebel? But what there is in the game, it outshines the wasted potential. There is some good... I really like the little touches about how sometimes the stories you run, they change the little conversations between weeks. I don't know if this is even a gameplay touch or not, but I noticed that in some of my runs, Frank, he would say, "Hey, I'm taking the week off. I'm going to help out with the strikes." But sometimes he would also say, "Hey, I can't be in this week. I have a cold." And I noticed that he would say he had a cold if he wasn't very comfortable at the job. So if that's a little touch, where it's like if he has a high comfort, he's honest with you about why he's off work. That's just the kind of little touch which is great.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And little touches like how there's a conversation about medical bills, and okay, it's not about. It's a conversation about what these people are going to do once the newspaper shuts. And Phil, for a second, gets like another dimension where he actually acknowledges, yeah, I'm really lucky to have this job and have a lot of money, but a lot of my money goes on medical bills for my brother, and in a few months I'll be in the same boat as you guys. So, oops. But at the end of the day, fuck Phil.
Fuck Phil. Over and above all, fuck Phil. Yeah, I think overall the game has a lot of very good strengths, despite feeling underdeveloped in places.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they were able to make a like the Westport Independent 2, which, like I said, their Twitter
HD
has not
collection?
updated. 5 more achievements. I'm not sure what they would be for.
The Westport Independence Turbo.
The Westport
World
Independent
Warrior.
Resurrection.
Alpha, Third Strike, The Revenge of the Return of the Reawakening, Revelations, Revelicons.
Resurrection.
One of my friends
Westport
actually has one of the Resident Evil Revelations copies that has Revelicons written on the screen,
Oh,
on
God.
the spine of it.
Westport Independent 2, Revenge of Georgie Costover.
There it is.
He comes.
Free Georgie.
Yeah. Free Georgie and fuck Phil.
There we go.
Yeah, so
There
good
we
game.
go. I'm probably going to stop saying that now. Because I don't. I can't imagine that my parents would ever find this podcast, but if they ever did, you know this is going to be the first episode they hear.
Of course.
Great living you're making, Elmo.
Alright. What is our next game?
Oh yeah, I picked out the next game. I was kind of torn at first. I was considering Dive Kick, but I'm gonna save that for later
Okay.
because the memes in that game are too dank for us right now.
All that
I could
salt.
not handle those dank memes.
So instead, I decided to think about something I've been meaning to get around to, but haven't had a good excuse yet because I can't pitch it to my editor at Hardcore Gaming 101 so they can
Okay.
pay me to review things.
Mhm.
Which is amazing because I've convinced him years ago to pay me to review Christine Love's new game, which turns out to just be lesbian porn.
Amazing.
And I just convinced him to let me cover the Homestuck game because he didn't
Oh my
realize
God.
it was the Homestuck game, and then he's like, "Oh God, what have I done?"
And then he also realized the Homestuck game is never going to come out.
Oh no, it has a trailer out now.
Huh?
Does it though? Does it really?
Yeah, it has a release date for January of 2017 for the first episode.
I'll believe it when it's out. Beyond Good and Evil had a trailer. Well, 2 had a trailer.
Well, anyways, this particular game, I've been following the maker of it for a while on Twitter, so I figured I'd just get around and give them some publicity I think they really need. So next time we're going to be playing a visual novel. It's just like 2 or 3 hours long, don't worry. It's the first episode in a series called The Reject Demon Toko.
Okay.
And it's made by a studio called Lupisoft, and the main writer and artist for the game is named Towsome. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting because I don't think I've ever indulged my interest so much on this show yet, as you're about to see, because this
Oh, no.
is a very gay game.
I just looked it up, and the first tag I,
I just
see
saw
is
a borderline
nudity.
not safe. I just saw a borderline not safe for work image on here. So
Don't worry, guys. It's on Steam.
if it's on
only.
Steam,
It's
it'll
not.
be fine.
Yeah, don't worry. Just as a side note, they are actually working on an actual porn game,
There you go.
and like
Yeah.
the demos out for that. I think it's called like Star Trailers or something like that, but it's not on Steam for obvious reasons.
Oh.
Anyways, it's a short visual novel that's just 1 episode right now, but more are going to be released next year from what I'm hearing, about a demon girl named Toko who has never managed to bring the soul of a dead human to hell and gets kicked out for it, so she's trying to actually do her job for once, and starts figuring out strange mysteries about her past. And what really caught my eye about it is the art for the game. The character design is really interesting and strange, and I haven't seen anything like it before.
Nice.
And I just kind of want to see where this type of game is headed.
Hmm.
So I figured this would be an interesting change of course for us since it's a visual novel and thus not mechanically heavy. So we get to focus on something a little different.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can feel that.
And I'll save Dive Kick for another day because we do need to talk about those dank memes.
Those memes. Dive Kick is interesting. I'm not going to say a lot on it now if we're doing it later, but it's interesting.
3 dank, 5 me.
Well, anyways, we'll see you guys next time for a very, very gay video game.
Yay!
Anime.
So long,
Well,
farewell.
it's not really anime. The guy is English.
Anime. Good night, everybody.
Good night.